actually starts down a little bit. This Planning Commission meeting convenes on the ancestral territories of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. Pledge of Allegiance, would you lead us, please, Andy?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. Pledge of Allegiance, would you lead us, please, Andy? I just turned on my microphone. That's a good touch.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under indivisible,
Of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. Okay.
Wow.
How about a roll call?
Sure. Sorry. Commissioner Ermshaw,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Here.
and Chair Nye.
Here. Public comment. Any member of the public may address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Planning Commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item at the time it is heard. Speakers must restrict comments to the item as it appears on the agenda and stay within a 3-minute time limit. First up is the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature, and all recommended actions of the staff report will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the commission or public requests otherwise, in which case the item will be removed for separate consideration. Any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. Oh, I need to go back. Is there any public comment for items not on the agenda? Hearing and seeing none.
Tom, I'm not sure if Russ can hear. Can Russ hear?
Our City Attorney, Russell Hildebrand, is on the screen. Can you hear us, Russell? Not nodding. Shall we wait for that?
I think we should.
There. No sound, he said. There's no sound on the Zoom.
We can hear you, Russ.
But it's plugged into me, so.
So you're not on yet? Okay, well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. We need to get City Clerk Assistant Donna on the Zoom. So bear with us for just a minute.
Well, your Lisa connection was on mute, now it's off mute, so I can hear just fine.
Yeah, but you won't be able to hear all the others, I don't think, because I'm not the one that has the mic.
Okay.
Okay, so.
This thing is just disappearing every time I touch it. Lisa, I do think I need a packet. This just keeps disappearing on
Okay,
the
I'll
second
send it
iPad
to
too.
the printer.
If it's not apparent, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
I got it.
We appreciate your patience as they get ironed out.
It's hard to imagine there was a time before the internet
And cell phones.
and cell
It
phones.
was wonderful.
And we met in public and people wrote things down and
Right.
it happened.
It was nice. I miss it.
I don't remember it.
I miss it.
Yeah, our first phone, as I remember as a kid, was,
Okay, let's
we
try
had
that.
5 other, everybody in the block was on the same line. 'Cause-
Party line.
Party line, yeah, because
Wow.
I remember my mother would tell somebody, well, I'm talking to my sister, could you get off now, or something like that.
Wow. Russ, can you hear us now? Russell, are you able to hear us? I think that one has to be muted, no?
No, that's when we need, when we start, I unmute.
Russ, are you able to hear us? He seems to have walked away from his computer. I'll go check with Kyle and see if he can hear us on his end, the technical
I
guy.
can go check with him.
You want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody, would anyone like to pull anything from the consent calendar? We could move forward with that if we have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved.
Can you hear us?
Yes, he's probably not there, though. He's muted himself.
Okay. Kyle hear us? Okay. Okay, I think we're good. Kyle can hear us okay. Since Russ isn't available, I think we're okay.
Kyle's in the city attorney's office?
Kyle is the one running the NCTC,
Okay.
the YouTube.
All right, well, would you, the next item is Marty and Rhonda Crossman. And if you'd like to introduce that for us, Lisa,
Yes.
that's item 4.
So Marty Crossman is proposing an ADU with a new driveway off of Clay Street. The way that his lot is configured, he has frontage on both Nimrod Street and Clay Street. And the place where he'd like to put the ADU, he is hoping to have a new driveway for that. The driveway does include some grading and some fill. We had an ARC meeting with Chair Nye and Commissioner Van Zant on, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and discussed the item. The ARC was on March 8th.
Oh my gosh.
The applicant has considered doing a lot split, but that is not contemplated at this time. He does want to construct this season, and so he's trying to get started and may consider a lot split in the future. The ADU is, could be reviewed and approved at staff level without commission approval of architectural review But since there is a new driveway proposed, this item is before you today as a site plan review. The driveway is 12 foot wide. There would be some fill brought in to accommodate the slope from the street level down to the new building, and a newly sort of built-up pad in the area where the residents will go, the driveway and the parking, and then a rock dissipator at the edge of the pad that would catch runoff from the driveway. So there'll be a culvert on the, what would be the east side of the driveway that will direct water, any water that comes off of Clay Street underneath the driveway and into a roadside ditch on the west-hand side. And that would take all of the water down to a rock dissipator. You can see that on the site plan provided by his engineer that did the site and grading plan. And that is, we did receive some public comment on this item. You'll see those. I've also got City Engineer Brian McAllister to talk about the watershed, the way that the water flows off of that site, and the any potential site distance issues and the things that he came up during staff level review. So I'll let him speak to that.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. So in response to some of the comments, these are items that we also looked at when we were reviewing the application. But for the location of this proposed driveway, it's got, I believe it's got adequate site distance if 2 trees are removed and those 2 trees are in the city right away. There is a fence to the left if you're pulling out of the driveway onto the street. The fence is in the city right away. Ideally, that should be pulled back, but we don't. When there's new fences, we try to make sure they're on city right away. But sometimes existing fences encroach in the city right away, and this one does encroach by about 5 feet. And it's also a little higher than 3 feet, which is our front fence standard. But you can still see over it. So there would be adequate site distance because the site distance is typically measured from 3.5 feet and the fence is 3.5 feet. So you'd be able to see over that fence. And so it's really not much different than other driveways on that street as far as site distance. And they would be pointed out because there's a turnaround, which is good. There's lots of other driveways on that street where they back out of their driveways, and there hasn't been accidents that I know of from cars backing out, and this would be better than that. And then with regard to drainage, Clay and Martin is at a high point, so there is runoff from the street at that intersection, but not a lot because it's the high point. And so the drainage is conveyed through this parcel naturally, and we would want it to still be able to flow, but they've got a plan for that with the culvert under the new driveway. And it doesn't carry a lot of runoff because of since it's located at the high point of that intersection.
Good info.
Thanks.
Thanks. Would you like to add anything to Lisa's staff report reading and Brian's?
I don't think I need to. We've gone over stuff pretty good. I mean, the fence along the road is gonna go away anyway. I probably won't have a fence out in front anyway, so. not really.
Yeah, the fence I was referring to is the neighbor's fence.
Oh, over-
Yeah.
over here.
Your fence is chain link further back.
Right, it's just
Yeah.
wire. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about this one.
No, yeah.
Okay.
I think he's talking about my fence, Marty.
Oh,
Okay.
The white picket right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's Tristan. He's my
I
neighbor
can-
out here.
I
If
think
that's
he-
an issue, I can drop down.
Oh, I think you can still see over it.
Yeah. Can, I mean, I think we've gone over everything once. Or twice.
Okay, any questions of staff or the applicants?
Public comment?
We're not there yet. We're asking questions first, and your fence, the white picket one is, I've seen the site, and it's to the, looking at the proposed driveway, it's to the left?
Yeah, it'd be to the east of it.
East. Okay, okay.
Right.
All right, if there aren't any other questions from the commission, do we have any public comments online or in the house? You're welcome to get up to the podium and identify yourself and
Hi, my name is Ione Ishii, and I live at 512 Nimrod, so right next to this property. And we've lived in this house for 25 years, and we've seen a lot of changes in the city. But we have a number of concerns about this proposal, and one of them is the main sewer line. And from my examination of the proposal online, it looks like the proposed asphalt is actually going to cover the main sewer line. And when we came to the city some years ago, because we too were thinking about building an ADU, we were told very clearly that we could not hinder access to the main sewer line for obvious reasons. The sewer in this county, in this city, is really plagued with problems, which is why you have an ordinance to have a backflow protective device because of potential backflow issues. We have suffered from that. We had a contractor who failed to do that, and so we know by firsthand experience that the sewer line is really, really delicate. Now, when we bought the house, our property is at probably the lowest point behind the Nimrod Street. We were told that there is a seasonal spring that will form due to the runoff that comes with the rain. Now, I would urge the commission or the engineering to look at the historical rainfall levels, because we've had drought years and we've had heavy rainfall and we've had heavy snowstorm. But in the 25 years we've lived there, we have seen months of boggy and wet conditions in our backyard. So, and it's not restricted to our yard. It's restricted to the houses to the left and to the right of us. Our neighbor to our right, who's not here today, actually came to us and begged us to build a berm to stop the water flowing into his property. Well, we're not going to do that, because we were told that that is against the law to block water flow. So we didn't do that, and he's now sort of just accepted the fact that the water flow is going to come in his yard. But the way that gully is, if for lack of a better word, the way that is, that runoff affects 4 to 5 houses, not just where Marty's house is, but our yard and a number of neighbors downstream. Now, there have been, when a new sewer line was put in to our backyard, there was some culvert put in, and that minimizes, the bogginess, but it doesn't eliminate it. So in looking at the drawings, I couldn't quite understand the proposal to eliminate the runoff. And before that gets answered, my concern is the slope of how the driveway from Clay will have to be tapered, because now we're going to be channeling the water, not just from natural rain flow from the sky. We are now actually funneling Clay Street water, which is a really steep slope, coming down what I consider a channel into that asphalt, very large asphalt drainage, which would flood our yard and go downstream to the other houses on that street. So the fact that there's that natural stream, a seasonal stream that we're aware of, and that the proposed slope of that driveway really concerns me. And the city should be concerned too, because a lot of that runoff water is toxic. It's going to have oils and chemicals and other debris that comes off of a natural asphalt street, coming down and going into the water lines, and that will possibly impact the quality of our water. Because I know that Nevada City has a real water shortage all the time. We have about 6 months of water that we depend on. The rest we buy from NID. So I do think that that should be considered as the quality of the water. So number one is the sewer line itself being covered with asphalt. Number two is the toxic water stream flow. Plus, every time there's a water stream, we get significant soil erosion. We've had engineering out there a number of times to look at this erosion. Before Tristan bought the property behind us, the owner of that house used to move his debris and actually force the stream of water to come down his driveway and erode our backyard. So we have lived through this erosion issue many times, and the city can't do anything about it. Tristan doesn't do that anymore, so I don't have that erosion and that really force of water. It looks like a waterfall sometimes.
You'll need to wrap up your comments because it's 3 minutes per person and
Okay.
you're over, so please.
All right, so the other concern we have is the actual natural loss of habitat for animals. We know that trees are being proposed to be cut down, but we also see this as a really negative impact on wildlife. We don't nearly see the wildlife we did when we moved here 25 years ago. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Yeah, please join us.
Hi. On a similar vein,
I'm sorry, you identify yourself?
yeah, I'm Tristan Newbon. I live next door to Marty and own property kind of around a couple different properties on Clay Street. I've been living there full-time for 17 years. So like I own, I've seen, the changes and the trees and the habitat. That's mostly my concern. As a property owner, I'm not about somebody not being able to develop their property as they see fit. But in this instance, both my wife, Michelle, and I feel like the impact is pretty high. So we just, are asking that it's considered greatly before, the grading takes place, the paving takes place. This gully, Brian, I would, politely disagree with you on the amount of water. It sheds a lot of water. There's a good sized stream that gets going down that thing in rain. So it actually does funnel and channel quite a bit of water. One of my concerns is this gully is kind of rimmed with some of these beautiful old trees. They've been there for 100+ years. Those root systems, like Ione was saying, this is kind of a wetlands-like area. Now it's going to be paved. Now that water's going to just rush by. I had thought about the impact on their property, but also, is that going to impact these other trees? So we're going to cut down trees. Yeah, that's got to happen sometimes when we develop. But since there already is a driveway to this ADU, Marty can access this from Nimrod Street with very little grading, very little environmental impact. It seems like a high cost for convenience. So that's mainly it, is mitigating the water and having that water, like paving that and affecting these trees in the surrounding area. That's really my concern. As we develop more and more and we nibble into these little green spaces we have. I mean, you go out there now, the birds, the squirrels, everybody loves this zone. It's like having nature in your backyard. And I know it's Marty's property and, that's his right to develop. As I said, I don't want to stand in the way of that. But I am voicing my opposition to paving and grading and filling this natural area because I think it will impact the surrounding zones. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online have a public comment?
Nope.
Okay. So, well, I have a question for Brian, now that public comment's closed. The question of sewer access was brought up, and I'm wondering if you could answer that. And I'll just say, generally, what we have to rely on city staff and our city engineer and his expertise, and take city staff's recommendation on the advisability or rely on the fact that the proposals have been thoroughly considered from a public safety standpoint. So if you could address that question about the sewer access?
Sure. So the sewer follows the low point naturally because it's gravity sewer system. So it needs to be maintained. We need that sewer line to be where it's at. So it just needs to have vertical clearance, horizontal clearance, so that we can get to it for maintenance. And we'd rather not trench through a driveway, but if we need to, we can. I mean, because we obviously have sewer lines and streets everywhere as well. So if we had to maintain it and there was a driveway over the sewer line, we would saw cut the pavement and patch the asphalt when we're done, and try to do that in a way that works for the owner. So it's
Sorry, to clarify, there is no sewer access, there's no manhole within the applicant's property?
No, the manholes were located outside of this development area.
Okay.
But the pipe is coming right through the site.
Pipe runs down Clay Street?
It's from Clay, but it goes down this ravine.
Okay.
Can you orient me? I'm very visual.
So I have it up here. Shane went out and flagged it, and then the engineer put it on the map here. So this is the neighbor's property to the west, where my hand is here,
Which neighbor?
to the west. So,
One of these neighbors?
yes, Tristan owns property on both sides.
Thank you.
This is a vacant lot, and then the sewer line comes down and onto the lot sort of in the middle here and runs down through pretty much the center of where this sort of back of the lot is.
Okay. So it runs along what the path that the topography might suggest, essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And do you, Brian, have concerns about the drainage? The site does look like, this is me editorializing, just my impression, is it does look like a drainage area?
Yeah, it's definitely a natural ravine, and the neighbors probably have more experience with what happens during rainstorms. I'm just basing my opinions based on the shed area, or how much area is shedding to that exact location. Further down, like the next neighbor's house, there's more shed area contributing to that. So the ravine carries more flow as you go further downstream, but this is toward the upper end of the natural ravine, and just because of the pine needles, and it just didn't look like it was carrying a lot of water, but the neighbors might have more experience with that than I do. But it basically accepts runoff from the street intersection, from the buildings and driveways immediately adjacent. They drain towards that.
And you agree that the culvert that's proposed is sufficient to carry that under the driveway fill area, if I'm understanding that section's correct?
Yeah, I don't know about the location. It might need to be, if it were to be built, it might need to be a little further toward the ADU, but I think the pipe size is appropriate and would carry the flow appropriately.
And if the culvert were to be redirected or rerouted, who would direct that? Would that be you, or would that be,
Yeah, either
The
city,
site
public
engineer.
works, or building inspector, one, but it would be prior to certificate of occupancy.
so during plan check, that might be adjusted, or that would be adjusted if it seemed appropriate?
Yeah, this would require an encroachment permit, so that would be kind of our trigger to go out there. Before we sign off on that final approval, we would check that.
Okay. Other commissioners have questions for Brian?
I did, Brent. So that seemed to be addressing the runoff from Clay Street. Do you have concerns with the increased impermeable surface and the runoff that would happen from that, from the driveway and the paving around the site?
Yeah, that's a good point. There is new impervious surface being proposed here, so that would result in higher amounts of runoff on the downstream side of the development. Some ways to mitigate that would be just a wider swale that can allow more infiltration, things like that.
That's what we're gonna use is a rock swale.
Okay.
So the water will seep into the ground all along that whole edge. And it catches any water coming down off of Tristan's, catches all the water that comes from the street into that Christie box, goes into the drain, and then that's the beauty of the whole rock swale, is it dissipates, all the water dissipates into the ground all along the whole way. And then to another big dissipator at the end. So they're gonna be getting probably less water over here than they were before.
So Marty, I'm sorry, so the water will be able to settle down?
Yeah. It's not gonna be a concrete swale.
Yeah, because
It's gonna be rock, big chunks of rock.
Okay, and
Like this.
I can see that on the drawing, the riprap that's shown
Yeah.
to dissipate water at the end of the driveway. Okay.
I'd like to go back to
Okay.
my point of historical records of the rainfall, because we had so many years of drought that I really think that there should be some research done on the historical amounts of, because the rainfall that we had, like I said, boggy conditions for months back in our backyard. If we go back to those rainy days again, those rainy periods, we're going to have problems.
Thank you.
I did want to ask Brian, what would be an ideal method to not just speculate, but pretty accurately plan for the amount of water that's to be expected?
Yeah, we could condition the project engineer to provide a drainage report. They haven't done that. We don't usually ask for a drainage report for driveways or small site plans, but we do for any commercial development or larger size projects. We would ask for a drainage report, and it would show the pre-project condition and the post-project condition in like a hydraulic analysis.
Okay, and then in the area where the sewer line would be covered with asphalt, is there what's the known depth there, and is there any issue with driving vehicles over it?
I don't remember if it was potholed, or we located it in the field, but we would ask for 2.5 feet of cover, 30 inches of cover. That's what we would ask for. I think that's,
I think when they scoped it, it was like 3 feet, wasn't it?
It's marked as 30 inches on the drawing.
oh, okay.
It's on the drawing.
How many inches does it say?
30.
30.
Yeah, Most of that in fill too, compact fill 90% on top.
So I'd like to add one thing. I'll share my screen here. So one thing that triggers us to know that there's a defined stream or waterway is on the USGS topo map, if you can see a blue line. So here's the USGS map, and it doesn't show any blue lines going down. You can sort of tell by the topo that this, it may be the start of some water flow. And then when you look at this map, you can sort of see what Brian's talking about with how this spot here at Clay Street is actually sort of the high point. So water drains in both directions. It drains down this way, and then it drains this way. So the property is likely receiving, some water from Clay Street, some water from the property to the west, some water from the property to the east. But I do think that like a culvert calculation or a drainage analysis would be somewhat challenging in this area because the dynamic of having the street involved and with the street being, somewhat of a flat, maybe sort of crowned surface. But if it seemed like that was a good thing to have done, we could request that.
I mean, yeah, just go out there on a rainy day, you'll see the flow. It's pretty substantial. So we've got some good rain coming up. Go check it out. Before Marty scraped it clear of all the vegetation, it was really hard to see. The water would just go down, but I live right next door and I manage that water a lot, so I'm sure Marty doesn't even really know, how much water goes down there, because it used to all be vegetated and it would just create this kind of giant wetland soaking area. So now that it's scraped, it actually channels it more. It doesn't soak in as much because the vegetation is gone. So.
Which is common, which is what, engineers do in their design, is direct the water away from the building sites and off of, make sure that it's can enter its natural water course after going off of the driveway and, avoiding the house. So.
It's
have a
altered,
question.
it's altered water course in the case of impermeable
As is any
improvements.
driveway.
Yeah, yes, Peter?
Yeah, a question to both of you. So we're going to have the driveway, and then we're going to have the crushed rock. Is that correct?
No, asphalt.
Yeah, it's gonna be asphalt driveway. Well,
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, we're going to have a driveway, and then we're going to have the rock next to it? Is that how, I'm trying to picture?
we're gonna have a rock swale. What are you asking?
Okay, I'm standing at the top, I'm looking down the hill.
Okay.
Got the asphalt driveway, thank you. Okay, and you mentioned about putting more rock in there to absorb water.
Yeah, we have to bring in some fill, dirt, compact it, and then it gets base rock underneath the asphalt, compact it to 95%, and then the asphalt on top of that.
Okay, so I thought maybe it was at the sides. No, so it's underneath.
The rock swale, I think is up the side, along the side of it.
Rock swale, we just take out the loose dirt and dig a swale and then set rock in there.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was getting
Yeah,
to.
there's no concrete or any compacted rock or anything under that.
Okay, so, and there's,
It's essentially dirt.
okay, so the question is that to Brian, is that a cure or a sense of dealing with that water, with having the crushed rock on the side? Is that going to offset the hard surface, or, I know it's a hard
Yeah.
question, but is
Yeah,
that a
well, the rock-
standard engineering solution?
Yeah, anytime you're over 5% slope, it's good to do rock protection. It keeps, slows down the velocities of the water so that they don't suspend dirt particles and cause erosion. So that's why rock is used in swales. So I think that's appropriate for this application, just because of the slope of the swale.
Yeah. But we don't have any quantity calculations. There's going to be more water because of the driveway, and then we're going to pick up some of it with the swale. to the swale?
Yeah, if we wanted quantity calculations, that would necessitate a drainage report.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
we're back to that, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I mean, we designed this with Kevin Nelson. I mean, he knows what he's doing. You know, I mean, I didn't just dream this all up by myself. He figured it all out with me. You know, I told him where I wanted the driveway and everything, and figured this would be the best way to
Yeah.
mitigate any problems.
Well, we have to deal with what's in front of us and what you presented.
It seems like a well-thought-out plan. I don't think anybody is saying that you just dreamed this up. But this discussion goes to my area of concern, which is just because of the look of the property, it looks like a place where water flows. And we have a lot of rain sometimes and not much other times, and it does affect property owners. Being an owner of a property that receives a lot of drainage from the hillside above me, we should consider it fully. And so the drainage report that you speak of, Brian, that is not typically done in a project of this size, is that a very extensive, expensive process?
No, I mean, they've already spent quite a bit of time doing survey and plans and everything. It would just be more time spent with a drainage analysis, but it could certainly be done by the engineer.
It seems to me like that would be a good thing to ask for so that we're acting responsibly, and that the public feels like they are being looked out for as well. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And then any other discussion?
Yeah. Just on how long would that take, this study? Is that a site visit, one site visit and?
Yeah, one
you
site
take some
visit and then some
elevations
office
and-
time to develop the calculations and the report, and then we would need to review it. Staff would review it. So, yeah, it could be done within a week if the consultant were available to start on it right away.
Okay. And then that would come back to us with the package again?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out the process. Okay.
And then a question for the planner. If this were, and we discussed this in the ARC, if he was proposing a lot split, then the new lot would acquire a driveway by right. That's my understanding. And so that's my question for you. I know we're not talking about a lot split, but if that were the case, and this were a separated parcel, then access would have to go someplace.
Yes.
And
Unless it was, sometimes I think a lot split can happen where there is an easement to use the same driveway from the original driveway.
Yes. So that would
It's
be,
not guaranteed that there has to be a driveway on that side.
yeah, so that would be part of the map and the application process for the property split.
Okay.
Or
But
parcel map.
lot split is not required to deal with this project in front of us, right?
I'm asking, Peter, I'm just asking a hypothetical question.
No,
What would
no,
the
I'm
situation
trying to
be?
get
Yeah.
it framed.
Oh, got
Yeah.
it. Russell, do you have anything to add to this question? Uh-oh.
He's on mute. You're on mute, Russ. No. He said, no, I'm not. Maybe the volume's down.
Do you have to turn your volume up?
In the meantime, can I ask the applicant a quick question? What other surfacing materials did you consider? And how did you arrive at what you're proposing?
What kind of material?
Surfacing, driveway surfacing.
I mean, I'll put in whatever the city thinks is best, but I thought asphalt. I mean, I could do partial asphalt, some gravel, whatever's gonna be best for the neighborhood, really.
We actually have an ordinance that requires parking, driveways, and maneuvering areas to be hardscaped. It could be,
So it has to be.
concrete or
Or black.
pavers or something other than asphalt, but it needs to be hardscape.
And the hammerhead or turnaround?
Yeah, because that would be the maneuvering area.
We have Russ back.
Russ, I think we'll be able to hear you this time. Will you try again?
I'm ready to try again.
There we go.
How about now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the world.
Thank you. Yeah, a new lot would have to have a driveway. Now, whether it would be a driveway that's put in by the property owner, or they arranged for a voluntary easement arrangement with the prior property owner or an adjacent property owner, but there has to be a driveway one way or the other. But can the city say no to your lot and then make some property owner grant an easement to their neighbor? No. Would have to be a voluntary easement arrangement.
And I don't think what I'm hearing is a lot split doesn't change the dynamics of the water, the slope, or the surfaces, right? So it doesn't address this problem, a lot split. Gravity's still there, the slope is still there, the rain's still going to come. Correct? Okay.
Correct.
And a lot split's not being proposed.
Not being proposed.
But we were kind of going, does that somehow make it a little bit easier to deal with? The answer is no. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have a motion at this point?
So I think we're in agreement that we want to see the drainage report. So would it be, we continue this, what's the proper way to phrase that?
Yeah, continue it to a future meeting
Okay.
with the applicant
Until
providing
the-
a drainage report.
Okay. So I so move.
I second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ermashah?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
And Chair Knight?
Yes.
Okay, we'll continue, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay, do I have to get Kevin Nelson to do anything, or,
You can talk to me if you have questions about it.
but is there going to be some work for him to do?
Yeah, he would need to, he or somebody else would have to develop a drainage report to show,
So it's not the city that does it?
no,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I think that the staff has to spend.
We-
A question on protocol?
We would review it.
Would you be keeping the public posted with the results so that we could hear what the results are of this proposed analysis?
It'll be at the public meeting and in the publicly published staff report.
We got a notification that there was this meeting. We'll get another similar notification? And the other request I make is that you widen the scope of property owners, because again, we've got neighbors downstream from us that may have opinions on this.
So I'll make a comment on that. The courtesy notice to the neighbors was simply a courtesy. It's not a public hearing for a project that requires public noticing. So there was no public notice to our typical 300 feet radius. I just put the letter in the mailbox for the close-by
Okay,
neighbors.
thanks. And I would suggest you look at the city website, subscribe to notifications for public meetings, and then you'll get an emailed notification when the staff report for future meetings comes up. It's a great thing.
I can invite my other neighbors.
Of course. Of course. It's a good thing for anyone to do, to subscribe to public meeting notices and be informed and participate. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you in a week. Yeah.
Sorry, more work.
You know where we are.
Thank you, Brian.
Neighbors were a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know.
I'm waiting for my slow computer to return me to the agenda.
Right?
I'm not using one of these again. This
I
is,
know.
Yeah, it's something with the.
If we had
Can't go on.
Adobe on these, Adobe Reader, then it
best
could be
way.
downloaded and it wouldn't have to keep
Yeah.
reconnecting to the internet.
That's a great idea.
That's all we need to do is get that app on all these iPads.
It's a
Yeah,
great
Every time I
suggestion.
go, yeah.
Commissioner Ermshar.
And you can do that on your computer, too.
Yeah.
But I try, and it doesn't.
Okay,
And Reader's free, right?
correct.
PDF Reader's free, so
Yeah.
you just, yeah.
Next, item 5, 107 Sacramento Street, Stonehouse Restaurant parking lot, lighting, fencing, and railing.
Would you like
And
me
do-
to introduce this item?
Yeah, do we have an applicant in the house or online?
We do not. The applicant's representative is traveling today, and Jonathan Rowe, the owner, was going to try to join by Zoom, but may be having technical difficulties. But he and I were on the phone for about an hour this morning, and I figured that we would still hear the item, and if there's anything that requires the owner's input on, then we can request it and have him back again. But I think it'd be good to still sort of walk through the proposal.
Yep, okay. Would you introduce it for us then?
Yes, so at our, let's see what the date was here. October of 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission reviewed a site plan review for the Stonehouse parking lot. The project included at that time configuring the parking lot, arbors proposed within the rock walls, lighting, a pedestrian pathway bridge, pedestrian pathway fencing, and a new expanded sidewalk on Sacramento Street. Further conversations with the property owner and the city regarding the agreement that exists for the city's contribution to the project revealed that the fence that was omitted at the October meeting is actually quite necessary. So today before you, you have a fence design that emulates the South Pine Street Bridge in its design. That would be for the pedestrian walkway between the parking spaces and the rock wall. The reason for that is that the delineation between the public and private space is critical to define that easement, and the both parties, the city and the applicant, do really want that separation of space. So I know that when we heard the meeting in October, there was a lot of comment about, well, like, is this something we can take out, or is it something that needs to be included? So we'd like to take another look at that today. The railing for the bridge is also on the plans. It's a similar style. It's paneled with, let me see here, I believe it's alternating.
They are.
So alternating between vertical slats and then vertical slats with the crosses that represent the, or that emulate the Pine Street Bridge.
Sorry, vertical, what did you say?
Vertical steel tubing. It would be like squared tubing.
Which picture is that?
So.
Is it this one?
No, it's on the plans further down.
Oh.
it's a drawing.
The little tiny one, the tiny one?
drawing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tiny drawing.
And then also the railing along the Sacramento Street. Brian's preference for that is and the city's preference for that is the round tube style railing that you'd see all around town. There's some on Boulder Street where the sidewalk is elevated. There's some over by the courthouse parking lot. There's some up at the top of Nevada City Highway and Zion Street there, past Cashions Field. And the reason for that is that simple round tubular rusty railing is really simple and clean, and it won't detract from the building. We felt that if there was a real busy railing on that Sacramento side, that the view from town or the view from across the street at TJ's Roadhouse would be sort of altered and catch your eye more than maybe would be wanted. So we did work with the applicant on that, and the proposed railing for the Sacramento Street side is in the packet as well on sheet C5. And then lighting, I realized this morning that the lighting wasn't included in the packet that was uploaded most recently, so I re-added it in with a few alternatives. The applicant and I spoke on the phone this morning because I wanted to verify that he did indeed like the lighting that his project manager had picked out, and it turned out that he didn't. So there
did
are.
not, you
He
said?
did not. He did not like those. So there's one,
You're talking about these?
3, 4 styles that I'd like to review and discuss for the lighting, and that's lighting on the arbors only. The height of the fence, what I'm calling the fence by the pedestrian walkway, is 42 inches. The height of the bridge railing is 42 inches. And then you'll see in this image, that there's this no fall zone part of the parking lot that will require railing also. So there'll be the railing for the bridge, and then there'll be the railing for that no fall zone above the culvert head wall.
Just a quick question about that. The point of that no fall zone points towards Sacramento Street. Is that right?
That points towards Sacramento Street, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Basically towards TJ's Roadhouse entry, I believe. And then, let's see. The placement of the lights on the arbors, we'll need to discuss. This one shows center placement, and this lighting style would be what is proposed for that, which is very discreet and would blend in if the arbors were painted black. It doesn't really have a modern look, I would say, but it also doesn't pop out as being historic. So I'd like to discuss that. And then if similarly to the previous proposal, if a different lighting style were chosen, it could go here on the exterior, like lined up with the post of the arbor, or as shown in this rendering, on the inside of that cross member. So I worked with the applicant to get their design to finally reflect that this cross member is going to be 6 inches instead of 4 inches, so that it will accommodate a mounting plate for one of these light fixtures. And these are all dark sky compliant fixtures. Here's an image of what that one looks like. This was like a review for the product that somebody installed on their residence, or I can't tell if it's a commercial building. So this one I'm calling, the name of it is Bellevue. This is Forte, and that would go sort of on the, closer to the posts of the arbor. This one is the more expensive, and it's a bit larger. It's 14 inches high. This one's Modern Forms. And then this one is the Great Outdoors, and it would also go by the posts.
But the owner doesn't like any of these?
The owner likes all of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
And
were
I-
the ones that he did not like?
He did not like this one that was black with like a little kind of cage over the
Yeah, the bulb.
glass. And it looked kind of like
Nautical.
nautical. Yeah, exactly. So again, here's the railing styles. I'll put them up on my screen for you. This is the simple tube style for, that's proposed for Sacramento Street. And then there's an image of it here in the staff report. This is up at the top of Zion. So it kind of gives you an idea of what the finished product would look like.
Excuse me, that's along the path, the walking path that,
This would be along Sacramento Street,
oh,
so that where they're widening the sidewalk to
Okay.
create a more accessible entry to the building.
okay, got it.
And the reason for this one being chosen is just really mellow, won't attract a lot of attention, serves the purpose of separating from the street.
You can still see the building.
Still see the building, doesn't detract. And there's a lot of it throughout town.
Remind me how much it's being widened, the sidewalk, I forgot.
Let me see. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think you had it there.
Forget.
It was wide enough so that the doors would be able to open
And then
outward
people
and
could
people
still
could walk
by.
around them, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like maybe 30 inches or so. I'm not sure.
And
Well-
that railing would be not painted, that would be rust also?
That would be rust. And then this railing, the preference is black for the fence and the
You say the
bridge.
preference. Who's-
Preference is the applicant's preference, the landowner, Jonathan. Black for both the arbors and the fence. But Corten is an option as well. And I will share with you that at the end of the packet, we did receive a comment that came in late that I was able to add from the Historical Commission.
I didn't see that.
I'll point out what they said for you. Historical District Ordinance requires use of materials and finishes that were available at the time the building was, if available and compatible with Mother Lode style, and recommends the following recommendations. All of the metal fencing used by the city throughout town has been of rusting steel and should be used on the fence and arbors at the Stonehouse. Powder-coated finishes are not appropriate. The fence pickets should be solid steel and not round tubular, unclear of what is proposed. Second, it is not clear what materials are used for the arbors. They should also be rusted steel or wood. If steel, rounded tubular style should be used like the proposed Sacramento Street railings as opposed to square tubular, not available in that era. 3, we hope that any light poles and lamps, which are the same as the gas light poles further up Broad Street, are retained. They were purchased as part of the gaslight project, even though they are electrified, since no additional gas lamps were allowed by the state when they were installed. So nothing's proposed to change with the lights that are out there on the street.
So to clarify though, are those with that bridge-like design, the alternating, so is that square tube in there for any of those? Okay, it is square tube,
Yeah, for the pickets,
correct.
yeah.
Can I see the picture you guys are talking about, just so I'm sure I'm on the same page? Okay.
So you can see it alternates every other panel with the X's.
The round tubular is the one that's on Sacramento Street, correct?
Yeah. I've never seen small round pickets before. So I wouldn't really be able to comment on that. And I don't know how that would interact with the cross members, the parts
I
that
think
feed the
that, I think
crosses.
that comment can't be applied to this style of fence. It's either vertical tubes or vertical strips that are riveted together. The more faithful representations of this design are flat bar riveted together, but it's interpreted as square tubing in other areas. It reads as a flat thing, except it's more robust and more resistant to bending and impact force, and probably more rust resistant. So I think the round tubing doesn't apply to that fence.
What do you mean it doesn't apply?
I don't think it's applied to that. I think their comment referred to the arbors, the steel arbors.
Oh, I thought.
That's how I interpret that.
Oh. I'm guessing
We're guessing.
I'm guessing that it was pertaining to the proposed railing on Sacramento Street.
That is round tubing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it's, right? So I think that,
Yeah, we're discussing.
And this
three
is
different things.
rectangular,
Well,
right?
I mean, the letter just says fence pickets. It doesn't specify which location.
just any of them.
Yeah,
all of
I think
them.
it's all of
Nothing,
them.
they're saying no round, or no round tubing is what they're saying, anywhere.
No, yeah,
Oh, it says the fence picket should be solid steel and not round tubular.
correct.
Right.
Correct.
It's my understanding they're not proposed to be round tubing, though. They're proposed to be square tubing.
Correct.
With strap riveted together in the X pattern, welded probably to the tubular frame and square tubing.
Okay, now,
I have a question regarding the railings. I thought I saw somewhere in the staff report. I looked again and I didn't see it again. So the railings, fences, whatever, on both sides of on the parking lot side and on the bridge side for the pedestrian walkway to the trail, those are, all that is 42 inches high? Because the original proposal was for like 8 feet high, and so we're not, that's not in this.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And it seems like we have 3 different arbor designs,
So,
independent of lighting. We have 3 different arbor designs.
let me check that.
We can get all informed and then ask for public comment.
So are you talking about the way that the lighting is attached to the arbor, or are you talking about the dimensions?
The detailing, how the parts are attached together. It seems like we're looking at different arbor designs.
these guys, right?
Yes.
You're talking about those.
So that's from
Yes.
the old packet, and I found that picture today and realized that that was a helpful inclusion. But if you see the one on my screen here,
Yeah, is that the only shape now being proposed?
yeah, this is the most recent submittal.
Okay.
So this
Wow, I can't
member
really
that
see
goes across is 6 inches, so it's wider, and then the other members are 4-inch square tubing. And there's a detail here.
And the applicant doesn't like the light that is centered over the header of that arbor, right?
The applicant does like the light, but his preference would be not the one that's shown in that rendering, but this style.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the correct arbor in my little packet here.
It's probably super.
Oh, here it is, it's this tiny one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably super tiny.
Which on my computer screen becomes gigantic.
Yeah, it could be gigantic.
If this helps, Wendy.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the only one being proposed, the one that you brought up on your screen.
And so the differences between these two, Lisa, is the dimension of the 2 headers on top?
Yeah, the
That's
top.
That's the difference, okay. It almost seems like maybe the proportions are different on the tails that hang off, I don't know. And I know they're just renderings.
Yeah, I asked for the specifications for the build on the arbor, but I didn't get anything back, so.
Well, that's where I was going. We normally get them. I mean, if we just say we like a picture and don't have any dimensions,
Yeah.
it's kind of like free form, whatever they decide is what happens. So I
Lisa, can you
think
clarify?
we need
Oh,
some-
sorry. I thought that was the end of your sentence.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm done.
I wanted to ask for kind of a project status update of I haven't walked over there, I should have, but I haven't walked over there again in probably 3 weeks. And I don't know exactly what is the next move in terms of construction. I'm curious.
So as far as I know, they're close or ready, I'm not sure which, to be able to pave, but you can't pave right now. You have to wait until it's warmer weather to do asphalt paving. So the plants are actually closed, and it's not an option until they reopen, which could be, I thought I had heard March, but might be next month. So there was a few amendments to the contract with the city. And the city council had the same question when it came to them for amending that contract. But I don't know the specifics, really.
Yeah, I know there's so many different strategies on the sequencing of projects. I think about pedestrian bridge footings and I don't know how much things have progressed or not, or how ready things are.
It seems like they're still a little ways out, but I'm not sure.
That's the feeling I have.
Yeah, they were doing trenching and putting in the conduit for this underground work last month, I think. But other than that, I'm not really sure what's been going on or how they intend to finish, but hopefully they will finish soon.
And, the 7-year lease for public parking, I presume it does not commence until it's parkable.
I believe
so. Is that right?
Yeah.
And initially, the concept was that would be ready during the bridge construction, which is now underway. Right, okay. All right.
Yeah.
If there aren't any more questions, do we have any public comments online? Okay, thanks. So, discussion. I'll start with Wendy.
I have concern about generally kind of a piecemeal proposal, and would like to see something with greater continuity, detail, and intention of saying, here's our vision of what we'd like to do. In terms of the fencing that is proposed to delineate the public access to the trail versus the future private parking lot, I think the style is congruent with other elements around the city, and that makes sense. I would say the Core 10 rusting steel is the way to go. I would not support a powder-coated black railing. I would not support powder-coated black arbors or handrail along Sacramento Street. As far as the lighting goes and the arbor style, I would like to see that actually really detailed out with dimensions and truly the desired lighting elements. I am not sure what the aesthetic is that they're going for. There seems to be maybe some sort of Asian influence or kind of Zen-like thing, which I'm not sure that there's really historical reference for in this area. Certain parts of the neighborhood there are. And I don't know if the kind of diversity of lighting is to try to just see what sticks and we're open to, but I'd really love to see a cohesive vision. So I guess with that, my position would be that the railings could be approved, and the arbors and the lighting schematics still need to be really presented with representation from the applicant.
Peter?
I agree.
Okay, Rod?
Thank you.
Anything else?
No?
Same.
Same?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on all those points. I like the tubular steel railing on Sacramento Street. I agree with the minimal aesthetic. It would be less. I think it's the way to go. And to clarify, the drawing shows that railing terminating in a square corner, like a square joint, not a bent metal, right?
Like a mitered, almost like a mitered,
Yeah, mitered or some sort of butt thing and not bent down to vertical.
it's a good distinction, yeah.
Because that would look very, I don't know, not Nevada City, but I think it's a good, well-established aesthetic.
You're talking about the bend
No, no, the square corners,
is what you want.
yeah.
On this guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, if it terminates in a square thing rather than a bent thing, that would be better.
Square would be better.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
I think the plans represent that.
Okay.
do.
Just spelling it out. From my perspective, anyway. I also, in the representation of the arbors, some of, in the rendering, some of the vertical aspect seems to run through the horizontal aspect, and whether that's a design feature or whether it's a remnant of drafting software, I feel really unclear on that. And since it's such a simple form, what the detailing is really important, because there's not a lot to it.
Yeah, and actually, the one in the back, it looks all continuous, so.
Yeah, so I think we'll need a real proposal for those arbors.
Agree.
If it looks just like commercially available steel forms welded together all smooth, I think it would be inappropriate.
So which one would you think would be best? It kind of looks, here, let me share my screen.
Yeah,
again.
if you would.
So I kind of wonder why there's a dashed line showing, because that's like a front view of the arbor. I kind of wonder if that dashed line means that the post would go behind and then the piece, the cross member would kind of sandwich onto it.
What was that?
We'd like
Dash
to,
line,
we'd like
what
to
did
know.
you say?
we'd like to know that for sure.
Yeah.
And aesthetically, maybe a welded on brace that shows it graphically being held together by those things would be appropriately rough, or appropriately, it's kind of a design-y question, but.
Who's the designer on the project?
Greg Nickel?
Is he local?
I don't think so.
Grass Valley, okay,
Grass
local.
Valley.
Yeah.
So if that's not local, I'm kidding.
Ha, ha, ha.
Hello, Sean.
He's a foreigner.
So I don't know if what we might include as direction in that arbor design, or are we just asking for their design?
I would just ask for their design, like, give us a wholehearted final design presentation
gonna look
on
like?
your arbors, with dimensions, with materials, with, like, exactly as you want it to look, not sort of many versions and sort of, but then we would change this thing, and just what is it
Yeah.
really? The other question I have actually is, my memory fails me, and I should have looked into this, but on the pedestrian bridge, did we pick out what it looks like beyond the fact that there's a railing? There's so many different ways that you can make a bridge look. Did we have a full architectural drawing of that?
I don't think so.
I think that is called for.
Okay.
Unless I'm in the minority on that.
No, I'm curious also if the stone wall is part of the railing. The existing stone wall that's on the far
The
side.
stone wall is existing, so nothing's proposed to go on top of it. The
This-
stone wall already creates that separation between him and that other neighbor. Is that what you're?
Yeah, well, it's a two-sided walkway. That is to say, there's a railing on both sides, correct? A 42-inch high railing on both sides?
No.
This is the one across the back.
The
you're
railing
talking
is
Right.
about.
only on
Of the pedestrian
So
walkway.
if you were
Right.
standing there getting ready to walk into the parking lot through the arbor, the railing would just be on your right, and the rock wall would be a little lower, and it would be on your left.
That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
Can you put the
Okay.
picture up, Lisa?
Oh, I see, okay.
And I think, if I could, one more detail, actually, as we're going through this, and I'm looking at the details of the more decorative railing along the walkway and the bridge, it almost looks like it's a mix of as opposed to being exactly like replicating the old bridge, which is flat bar essentially, that's, put together. It does look like it's like square tubing, maybe even in the panels that are meant to replicate that. So it'd be good to understand those details too, because if it's a mix of square tubing and flat bar, I'm not sure how that, that's a little
Yeah,
weird.
maybe in general then, I might make a motion to generally come back with a more clear proposal on all of these design elements, so we know what we're saying.
So that I can give the applicant some direction, I'm not clear on whether there's any flat bar proposed, but what you said was you thought it would be strange if there was flat bar mixed with the square tubing?
Well, assuming that the X pattern is a flat bar, I originally thought if it was replicating the bridge, everything was going to be flat bar. And now it does not look like that. It looks like actually it's maybe
Square tubing?
square tubing or a mix of square tubing and flat bar. It's just not clear. Ideal would be replicating the bridge at the flat bar.
I agree.
Yeah.
Ideally, since it's a partly city-owned project, to duplicate the city's details.
So all flat bar.
Yeah.
And what do we think about the way that the Friar Tuck's parklet railing turned out? Does that replicate it?
I can't picture
can't
it perfectly in my
Picture it
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just remember that the design detail on that was quite vague as well, but it was like, yes, okay, that's,
It's a tubular steel construction that is powder coated in a kind of a rough black and silver finish that approximates the feel.
but not flat, right? It's not
It's not,
flat.
it's tubular steel.
I was not
And the
part of
crosses
that,
too?
and I
And
would
it
say
has
no.
those details as well.
Oh,
I
you-
wouldn't be in favor of that, but I wasn't part of the Friar Tuck's dialogue.
Okay,
So that, my recollection of the Friar Tuck's parklet railing is an approximation of an approximation of the Pine Street Bridge detail, but not a faithful version of it. The railings at Three Forks hit it squarely.
okay.
Because they're made out of flat steel strap and angle that's riveted together. It's very romantic. I don't know, I mean,
Good
Three
catch.
Forks finds it practical, I think.
Okay.
I agree that we need actual like specs and notes, what this is, the dimensions, with the direction. I think that we prefer the flat bar version that more closely approximates the bridge
And not powder coated.
and not powder coated.
Yeah, natural
Unanimous
steel.
there, yeah.
Yeah, Friar Tuck's is,
It's fine.
Friar Tuck's is powder coated, right? It's
Yes.
black. I went by there today, but I had problems because there was 2 trucks unloading and people walking down Commercial Street and crossing the street. So
Wonderful.
I just did a drive-by. Couldn't catch it all.
So, and the Core 10 material is what's being proposed for the railing on the Sacramento Street side, and it makes sense that that would be consistent with the parking lot and bridge railings
Okay.
as well.
And then Lisa, the last request that I personally have is, it sounds as though you have done more than your fair share of trying to present us with information and pulling from older drawings and things to try to give us a full picture. And I would like if they could make sure that you have what you need so that there aren't any outdated pieces, because I find that just confuses me and I think it confuses the conversation. And so I'm not really interested in seeing anything that is not representative of what is actually being considered. Is that, is that reasonable? Like, let's not have old stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But sometimes just for my clarification, that's included to show the process of the process, the iterations of the process.
It's just hard with this designer. I ask him for the same thing several times.
And that's a
If I
shame.
ask
Thanks for
for 6
trying.
things, I get 3, then I ask for those 3 again, and I get 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of back and forth, which is challenging, but I was hoping for, a really well put together submittal as well, but like, the reason I put these renderings in is because they didn't provide something like that again.
And that is not a criticism of you. I recognize that you're trying to give us the information.
Yeah.
So did we fill out your list enough so that our decision is that they have to provide it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're okay with where we're going with this?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll continue this approval because we need more information of a specific nature.
Yeah.
And
Would you
a
like to
given
make a motion?
Yeah. I move that we continue this item to a later meeting once the applicant has provided real architectural drawings. That
May I add, and that will include the results of the discussion we had today.
That- yep,
We
reflect the
didn't vote on
comments.
them, but we should put the discussion in. Correct?
Yeah, so would you mind reading back the notes of what we discussed and what our direction is?
We'll see what the memory banks are saying.
So a motion to continue the item, requesting the applicant to provide a more cohesive application that represents only what is currently proposed, include a detail for the arbor, and more detail for the fencing design along the pedestrian pathway, considering an all-flat bar with no powder coating.
And did we need
And the
more
bridge?
information on the bridge?
I think it would be good to see the bridge.
Yeah.
What is,
Are you asking for a section?
like a cross-section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a slice through it, how it's constructed?
Yeah.
They must have that if they're building it.
I did get something.
Would that be something that would go through Brian before it comes back to us?
Yeah, it goes through the building department.
Okay.
Let me see what I have here.
We could just, I think, just bring it next time.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go on.
So we had,
And the city is providing the railing on Sacramento Street, right?
No.
Okay. Okay.
So I do have this, but they never included it as part of their actual, like, formal submittal. So let me just have you guys take a look at it.
but the city is accommodating losing some road space.
Yes,
I mean, that's worth a lot.
yes. So this is the bridge detail. It shows the structure and with the railing, and then there's some details down here.
So it's a suspension bridge?
No, it has footings.
Right.
It's a suspended, or yeah, it's suspended from the edges.
And they're I-beams? I guess that would be in there, or tubes, they're tubes, looks like. Does that help you?
It's just a vague look at it, but yes, it shows a few details, so I can include that for you next time.
Okay, good.
I'd love to see it kind of in situ. Like, actually,
A rendering,
yeah.
but, and that in our staff report there?
I don't understand that top one
Yes.
with those,
It's a elevation and a plan view looking down.
oh, okay.
I think that was showing like the supports underneath the deck of the bridge.
Gotcha, looking down at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the only other detail they provided is this view here that I showed you before.
What was the original use of this building?
The stone house?
Yeah,
People call it the old brewery.
but before that, right?
I can't remember.
I think way back.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, I
Really?
think way
Okay.
back, yeah,
I think it was, yeah.
yeah.
Thirsty miners,
Yeah.
it's a business decision.
So we get a motion, right? I'll second the motion.
Okay, but I do feel like it started to get a little wily at the end.
So you want to make it again?
I think that we need to just review that list once more. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure. go
Okay.
ahead.
So motion to continue the item to a future meeting requesting details on the arbor, like specification, spec sheet, the railing as a all flat bar design, the bridge design.
The lighting.
Wait, the railing, we should specify that we're unanimous in calling for it to be Core-10, rusty metal, not powder coated. I think.
The railing and the arbors as core 10, the lighting with a rendering showing the proposals. And I think that captures it.
Does for
I
me.
think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, now.
Now I second it.
Commissioner Ermshar?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
And Chair Knight.
Yes.
I think it's gonna look nice when it all gets finished.
Yeah,
That corner's been torn up for what, 2 years now?
yeah.
Or more?
So Chair Knight, I did get an email from Anthony Lichtel from Communal Cafe saying he had to leave to go to another meeting. So I think we're going to have to review his sign when he can be here, unless you want to review it without him. That's for the 1856 Speakeasy and Communal Cafe sign. Actually, I'm sorry, I think that was the last item on the agenda.
No, the
that's
solar
next.
lighting,
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
street parking.
I feel like we could talk about this one,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
well,
It
if
exists.
we don't like it, then we send it away. If we like it the way it is, we
Yeah.
let them know.
Okay.
Russell Hildebrand is with us wearing a tie now.
Ooh,
Oh, my.
Do you have any parting comments for us?
I do not, other than, we'll see you next time.
thank you.
Russell.
Thank you, Russ.
All right, thanks. Bye now.
You're obviously not going out in Nevada City.
Not right now. Thanks. Bye now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's, should we discuss it with the applicant present? Because the sign exists, it's hanging, and we didn't look at it before it went up. Seems appropriate to discuss it with the applicant present, to me. And I'd be happy to have input on that question from the
Well,
commission.
I don't know if, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's take a look at it at the application, and if we like it the way it is, give it a thumbs up, and if not, have them come back.
I don't know that the applicant's presence would have bearing on my opinion, though. I
Okay,
guess.
all All right, then let's discuss
Maybe,
it now.
but, yeah.
As they say, let's give it a try.
Okay.
Please cue it up for us, Lisa.
So the sign proposal before you today is for the location at 233 Broad Street. It is currently hanging, and we requested that they come in for application for a sign in the historic district. Its location is on Broad Street, and it's above the entrance to Communal Cafe. The size of the sign is 30 inches by 24 inches. It is a two-sided sign. It hangs from chains on an existing mount that mounts to the building. And there's, for each business, the Speakeasy and Communal Cafe are connected by a ring. The sign is made out of metal. The colors that the applicant provided were simply black background with white and gold paint. There's only lettering, no graphics. The lettering style of the 1856 Speakeasy is Craw Modern. The overnight getaway section of the sign is Faraz Modern, and Communal Cafe is what we searched online for, and the closest match came up as Glicker Regular. I did include some descriptions of those font types from just a quick online search. Craw Modern was designed by Freeman Craw in 1858 and released to compete with popular claridons of the time. A claridon, as a classification, is identified as when the serif is bracketed, the curve linking the stroke between the stem and the serif. This design was first published by Robert Beasley in 1845.
Sorry, I thought I heard you say 1858, but then I read 1958.
I think they were referencing the serif was originally published in 1845. So the Craw Modern is like a take on the serif font. And then the Faraz Modern, the description I found was an elegant serif font with 3 different weights. Glicker Regular for Communal Cafe, the gold, is inspired by the characteristics of hobo typefaces. All corners of this typeface is founded, looks more dynamic, and a vintage feel. So those are just some descriptions I found online. So today the findings that the commission needs to make is that the exterior appearance of the signage is consistent with mother lode type of architecture, and that the proposed signage does not exceed the allowable square footage for the site.
Any questions from the commissioners to staff? Do we know what the height is off the sidewalk? Is it a proper height?
I do not know what the height is. It appears to be okay. I could make a guess. Let's see.
There you go, you got it. It's as tall as
It's
the
above
light.
the doorway.
I would guess 9
It's
feet.
next to the light, isn't it?
It's not next to the light,
I mean,
so it
not
might be
next to it,
skewed.
I'm talking about the height.
Yeah, it seems like it may, I'll share this view here. It's kind of hard to tell if it's skewed because you're looking up the street. But it may be about midway as high as the gas lamp.
I think, well,
Given that it's above the doorway, I'm guessing that
Yeah.
it's plenty high.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's above the alcove.
Yeah.
That is higher than the doorway.
yeah.
I hadn't noticed it walking by it, so.
you had or
I
hadn't?
had to know, I wasn't hitting my
Right,
head.
right.
I didn't notice it was being close to my head even, right, so.
Alrighty,
And is there a reason why they didn't make an application before making the sign and hanging it?
I didn't get that information. I just asked our code compliance officer to reach out and have them turn in an application.
How many other notices have we given out? Have we been giving these out in other places, out of curiosity?
Not for signs per se,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I did ask Rainbow Rocket, but no traction on that yet. Or I asked Amanda to ask them.
Is there any public comments?
There's no online public comment, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Stacy.
Any discussion? Start with Wendy.
Yeah, I will say that two things that jump out at me. One is black powder coating would not be my preferred material. And the other is that while it is their graphic of choice, like on their window, I actually find the Communal Cafe font to be quite modern. It's kind of cartoony. And so I'm not really in favor of that either. So those are my two concerns about the sign, aside from take initiative to do it without an application.
Okay, Peter.
I agree on the communal cafe. I don't know if I'd call it cartoonish, but it doesn't fit with the one above it. I'm not sure what would fit, and if they really want to differentiate it, but I don't think this accomplishes it.
Rob?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to just bring up the sign guidance for a second, because my recollection was we had something like this in there, font-wise. Here we go. In the examples.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to remember there is a list of recommended fonts.
Yeah, and then there's some, I guess nothing precisely like this. That's sort of I'm looking at, so here's the page I'm looking at.
You're looking at the
guideline.
sign design guideline?
Yeah. So, I agree that one does look a little more modern, but I think some of the ones that we have on our page, especially like this One World, One Future at the bottom, are sort of similar too. Not necessarily as historic or something, I don't know.
I would call that one on the lower right.
Sorry, lower left.
Modern.
Lower left, I'm sorry, I
Yes.
said lower right, yeah,
That's modern.
yeah. But it is in our guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
What about this, like, if you look at the E, on the end of cafe, I just don't feel like I'm familiar with historic fonts that just have this really round swoopiness to them.
Well, again, this sort of one world, one future, yeah, I'm not saying, I think
It's
this is
not,
what.
you're not saying you like it. You're just,
I'm
yeah,
not saying
get
I like it,
Right,
but I
right.
don't feel like it's that far away from what we have maybe even up in like some of this Bellevue, whatever that is. We have a number that are more modern than I would have expected us to have in our guidelines.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't feel that this is that much discontinuous from what we have.
I agree with you guys. This speakeasy sign is no problem. The Communal Cafe font, there was another application. If it had come to us for sign approval, I would have suggested a less contemporary font for the Communal Cafe sign.
I agree.
And what about the material? Would we have proposed a different material?
I'll say, it seems like a very hardware-y approach. It could be, it's a steel sign perforated with chains hanging through it. I really like the format. Steel sheets with letters painted on. And we don't really get hand-painted signs. Pretty much we get screen printed or,
Yeah, like
you know,
vinyl.
digital printed signs. That's kind of what we, I think, have to expect.
Yeah, I don't feel this is out of alignment with that either. I mean,
Right.
the one little detail that does look a lot to me is you've got those two shiny rings. The other chain is black, and you have two shiny rings holding up the communal cafe on the bottom. It'd be good if those matched the other chain.
It would be, but I like the format, and in terms of size, it's two businesses, so they're well under
Yeah.
the size.
Yep. Yep.
I agree that it's generally well-designed. I still consider that if it were to have come to us before it was fabricated, we would have given the feedback that it not be powder-coated. We just said that on the railings at the Miners or at the brewery, the Stonehouse. And I think we would have requested a different font on communal, and I think we would have requested a different color ring. And we might have even asked that the corners not be rounded. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I see what you mean about the corners, but, the eye goes to you take the whole thing in and then you read it, it's, and it's up high, so it's
And
not something you're gonna be,
I'm not sure we don't have rounded corners elsewhere.
I don't really have an issue with the rounded corners.
Yeah.
Were I to have my wish list, it would have square or smaller radii, but I know it's not a deal killer for me because the format is so, in my opinion, very nice and very mother loady the way it is presented. Two sheets of steel hanging with messaging on it.
so, what I'm hearing is none of us really like the communal cafe font, and I don't know about the color, but if we just go to the fonts, we're gonna have to give them some feedback. Do we have a,
Well, I think my opinion was, it's not my first choice of font, but that said, I find it to be in alignment with some of the other fonts. I would not have found it, looking at it on its own, I would not say it's, out of line with the other fonts that we have in our guidelines.
Right, recommended fonts.
Correct.
And if we'd like to edit the font list, then we ought to.
well, I could make an argument that this is not a standalone sign, it's with the speakeasy part of it. And so we've got some responsibility about visibility and what it looks like, as well as does it meet all of the specifics of what's allowed. So I would recommend that they come back with another font style for the communal cafe that's more compatible with the speakeasy fonts. I mean, they're two different signs, but I just find it a little jolting. Maybe it's the color.
I don't mind the gold font. It's the style of the font that,
Yeah, I'm with you on the
Yeah.
style.
To be clear too, I like that they are separate, right, because they're two different businesses.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
do
good.
think they should be different.
It's good that they're different fonts, I agree
Correct.
with you.
Yeah.
But it's a very modern font
it's a very modern font.
in context with the speakeasy font.
Even just like an
what I
Arial
wanted
with
to say.
just clean edges. Yeah. Well,
Do we have a motion?
I move that we request the applicant revise the bottom hanger sign font and the brackets that connect the two signs.
To match
To
the
be-
chain above?
To match the chain above, and a font for Communal Cafe that is less descript with more historical reference, I guess.
And could we say compatible with the speakeasy font?
In my opinion, if it looks like kind of a traditional historic font, it will be compatible.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I don't think they need to match per se, because they are
I'm
two
not
different
saying that. I was
businesses.
saying
Yeah,
Compatible.
Would
Yeah.
you like to refine your motion?
okay.
I don't even know how you would judge compatible, though.
I know, it's kind of subjective.
It's
Yeah.
very
Isn't it,
subjective.
though? That's what we do here.
That is
I
what
know.
we do.
I know.
Yeah, and I think, because we went distinct businesses, I think it's compatible.
You know, one other question I have for my colleagues here is, to me, the name Communal Cafe is descriptive in and of itself, that I wonder if the bottom font is even necessary. Would it be more pleasing if it was simplified, or? You can tell I don't have like a strong attachment to it, but,
I think that's fine for them to have it there. I might add an Oxford comma, but that would be the only thing. I'm not sold on that. I don't have to have the Oxford comma in it.
Is there anything that allows regulating the words? Or that sort of triggers that sort of,
No, we're not allowed to alter the content. That alters the First Amendment, that flies in the face of the First Amendment, so.
okay.
really? I
Yes.
thought we've
Kind of
had
no.
signs where
Wondered.
we've limited what signs said. We have
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We've
Our-
said that's too many words.
Yeah,
That-
our starting point is, what's the name and a font?
We can weigh in on what it looks like. It's too busy. Make it simpler.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is it too busy? It might be too busy.
Because of the language at the bottom, espresso bar, local kitchen and bakery?
For how, for the width of that sign, for the height of it.
That's not one of my issues.
Might either.
Mine neither.
Okay. So,
It's the font and the color.
you don't like the color either.
I'm fine with the color.
I'm fine.
Fine with the color too.
I'm fine
Okay,
with the whole thing.
No, understood.
Yeah.
I see. So mostly there's three of us that are not fine with the font.
The font.
And you also are not fine with the chrome.
Oh, yeah, correct. I would prefer the matching rings.
Yes. Okay, so I move that we request the applicant to revise to a more traditional font for the bottom sign and change out the chrome hanger brackets to match the top chain.
Second.
A roll call.
Commissioner Ermshar,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chair Nice.
Yes.
3-1.
I believe next is, if I can get back to the agenda.
I think we lost was our city manager going to talk about that? We lost it.
Yeah, you had to take a call.
Yeah, item 7. How do you say that, Lisa?
Von Roche.
Von Roche. Would you like to introduce the item and maybe send a message to
Yes.
Sean that we'd love to have him back?
So we did, this is for the proposed solar lighting in the commercial street parking lot. On December 7th, the city's infrastructure committee made the recommendation that we explore lighting in the parking lots as a result of the parking study. The commission heard this item at the February 15th meeting and requested that we explore the option of the solar lights being at 14 feet high to be consistent with the requirement that we have for private property. development. We did get an updated design from Von Roche, and it includes, let me see here. Two dual arm lights that would be in the center planter strip, and then two single arm lights. One would be near the bathroom and ADA parking, and then one on the other side of the parking lot. We did meet with the Von Roche salesperson earlier this week. He actually came by and we walked the site and evaluated the placement and sort of refined it a little bit.
Is this the refinement?
Yes. And so in your staff report, the updated design does show lighting coverage, and it includes panning of the light heads to ensure that it's retained on site and doesn't spill onto neighboring properties. The lights are dimmable, and we would program them to dim at a certain hour at our requested time. So they could be at the same brightness, from sundown until, say, 11 o'clock at night, and then the dimming could be dimmed way down or go off entirely. So that would be flexible for us to design, and the lighting company would send the lights to us in that configuration that we request. And it is changeable. Let's see what else I might be missing here. So I did include some photos from the company that show lights at 18 or 14 feet high. I can bring those up here. So this is for a parking lot application with a dual head. This looks like it's shining on a bike path or something like that. Single head. And then this is a park environment. It looks like the lights over the field look to be higher, but these ones along the trail are 14 feet. And this I thought was a pretty good representation as well. And these lights that would be at the 3,000 kelvins, which is the temperature rating, and it is dark sky compliant on both that level and the shielding. So as Sean said at our last meeting, we would be looking for a recommendation to the Planning Commission on these items, and to go to City Council. I think he said that. Let me see.
Lisa, how tall are the trees in the parking lot?
He actually says, after considering public comment and reviewing the solar light, staff requests the input and comment of the commission prior to consideration of the items for purchase. How tall are the trees? When we were out there, they looked to be about, I would say between 20 and 25 feet tall.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this guy here would actually nest under the tree boughs?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so then how does that affect the solar capture?
Yeah, and that's one thing we looked at. And so the panel would face like southwest. So it would still get good solar. It may be shaded a bit, like in the morning hours, but it would get good afternoon sun, and that would be enough to charge the battery.
I looked at the quote of the proposal, And I don't see shielding mentioned, full cutoff. That didn't seem to be included in the spec, so is that something that was decided against?
No, they come that way. They're designed to be
Oh,
fully
okay,
shielded. Yeah.
okay.
You want to join us, Sean?
So these are,
With your permission.
Won't you
Are
please
these
join us
shielded?
at the,
Yeah.
these are considered shielded? Okay.
Dark sky's compliant. They don't look like it, but.
well, do you like this arrangement? Does city staff like this arrangement, the 14-foot, the dual arms, the two dual arm ones, and the, do you like this one?
I think it better represents your intention for height, but I couldn't speak for the rest of it. I think when we were here last time, you suggested that, it's not historic and you kind of just have to embrace that. We have meters there, we'll have kiosks there, we have EV chargers, and, so don't make it try to look fake historic.
Right.
I think the approach looks good to me as far as putting it in the center meeting there, two poles with the arms going out towards either side. I think it, we talked about, I don't know if you shared the placement potentially on either side of the rock crusher, and it might move towards closer to the EV chargers than to the bathrooms, and that might provide a less, hot spots in the area. So
You feel it's an effective plan, though? It meets the goals?
yeah, I believe so. The goal was to address the parking study concern of the perception of lack of lighting as a safety issue, knowing that we're not providing safety lighting, we're not putting in, lighting for a car dealership or something like that, but just the idea that people feel more safe because there's some illumination throughout the parking lot instead of just those little pylons. I think it does address those things. This was an idea that came about from council members seeing the product and thinking it would be a good solution to it, but we're not locked into it. The solar does make it much more palatable for us in all three of the parking lots, just in that anytime we would have to trench to run electrical in the historic downtown means who knows what we're going across to get to, just to do the EV chargers, which was really just along the sidewalk in front of the rock crusher, was a whole bunch of, things. So,
Surprises.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why the solar is enticing. But if you say that is the wrong thing for Nevada City, then, we'll find other things. But if it's something you're up to exploring or recommending to the council, we'll do the same, take it to them too.
Any more questions? And if not, is there any public comment?
No comment.
No.
Discussion?
I'm good with it the way it is.
I think in general, it probably increases the perception of safety by having more lights around, and reducing the shadowed areas. If you have one light source, then potentially,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Just like the gas lamps.
Yeah.
People indicated that they feel safer on the streets where the gas lamps are, and they essentially don't provide any illumination
right.
of the sidewalk
Right.
unless it's really wet, you see the
You can see your
reflection.
surroundings
Yes.
a little more.
Yeah.
The dual arms, the two dual arm units along the central island of that parking area, I think is a really great way to do it. It seems like a real improvement from the less, fewer instruments, taller poles. It seems like better coverage to achieve that goal. I really like it.
It's sort of more uniform too,
Yeah.
because you have more heads as well, yeah.
And you're putting the light more in the spaces that you would like and less in the spaces where people aren't walking or parking.
Right,
Exactly.
yeah.
I understand the spirit of all of it. I don't love the aesthetic of them personally. They read very urban. We've mentioned that. I would love it if there was something that had a little bit more design appeal to it. And I have not shopped it, so I don't know what those options are.
When we discussed it at the last meeting, though, the more traditional options they have they just feel really fake. They don't get near any sense of genuineness. So I think our sense overall was to just bow to utility, and their simplicity makes them kind of invisible.
I get it.
Because
I get it.
they don't pretend to be cute.
Right.
Yeah, I think from a human standpoint, if you're, you may spend an hour looking up and down the town and looking at the buildings and all that stuff, and then you're back in the parking lot looking for your car. So I don't see it as an extension of the historical district. It's an appendage that's necessary, so I'm okay with it the way it is.
Or they might be more invisible because of their simplicity. I don't know. It's subjective.
I'm not usually looking at lights when I'm in the parking lot. I'm looking at my keys in the car, so.
And they're matte black, right?
Yes.
Matte black?
Yeah, they're like it's more like
Satin?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
it's a little
picturing.
sheen to it.
Yeah.
But that's the, ability to clean it easy.
Right.
As opposed to. Our gas lamps we have two different
Yeah, those are
kinds. If
glossy.
you notice, we have high gloss ones, and then we have the kind of more eggshell ones, so different eras. Some of them we got from Grass Valley when they got rid of theirs.
I'm prepared to make a motion to make a recommendation to approve this plan.
Second?
How about a roll call?
Commissioner Ermshar?
A clothespin, yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
And Chair Knight?
Yes.
Okay.
Now that you already voted, can I
No.
ask the question?
Now comes the
We can
problem.
rescind our motion, I think.
We have two options for installation. It really, is going to come, we're going to do the installation. They're the manufacturers. They provide everything, they deliver it, all that kind of stuff, but we put it in the hole. Or use a mounting plate to put it on. We would drill a hole, put a tube in it, fill it with concrete, put the bolts, set the bolts to the bolt pattern, and then drop the light pole on top of that. Do you have a sense of which one might have a better aesthetic?
Are there pros and
I
cons?
think I didn't hear the first, I didn't
Yeah,
hear
I
the
didn't
first option.
understand the difference, yeah.
What's that?
I didn't understand the difference.
One is you drill a hole. One is the 14-foot pole actually comes as a 20-foot pole, and we drill a 6-foot hole in the ground and stick it in there and fill it up with concrete. Now only the top 14 feet stick out of the ground. The other one is they deliver us a 14-foot pole that has a plate that it sits on, and then we pour concrete with
Like
a
a
bolt
pad.
pattern and
Yeah.
bolt the plate to that. So that the cylinder lights that are out there now are all sitting on this much of a concrete stub, and they're bolted down.
Wouldn't you have like shear bolts on there anyway in case they get hit? So that,
You're talking about serviceability?
well, I'm thinking about like a lot of mast arms for traffic lights or whatever have those shear bolts so that if it gets knocked, it goes over as opposed to like somebody mangling themselves on. I know it's a little different situation. You're not going
Yeah.
to be traveling at, hopefully not at 45 miles per hour in the parking lot, but.
Yeah, no, the options are to do shear bolts or to do bollards on
Okay.
the four corners of them. And we know people drive into that area because they've hit everything that's been there. So.
Shear bolts or bollards. Shear bolts or set in the ground like a fence post, and then bollards protecting them.
You could have bollards with either mounting configuration.
What do you see as the pros and cons of each installation type?
The only mutually exclusive issue is that if you do direct burial in the ground, it's done.
It's there, yeah.
So the only way to get it out is to cut it out and then it's not usable again. Whereas the bolted ones, if we decide we don't like those or we want to move them or we want to move them 5 feet further down, we could do that just by drilling another hole, pouring concrete moving it,
And
setting it in.
jackhammer off the head of the footing that's been placed essentially, if we don't look at that.
Yeah, I would rather that be slightly recessed. You know, we drill down a little bit further, you put the tube in there, it's slightly below the ground, and you set it, and then you cover that, you know, over with dirt mulch, you know, leaves will fall on it, so that you kind of just don't see that.
I vote for that one.
You go for that one, all
The flexible option.
right? The flexible option.
Flexible, invisible option.
Now that you said that, Shane will say, direct burial. No. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, whatever you guys think, whatever city staff thinks is the best practical approach, but that sounds better to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the least obtrusive, whatever is the least obtrusive, but retains, I think, some future, I guess, flexibility.
It's the most
That's
service.
possible, if that can happen.
Yeah, the most serviceable option, if something went wrong with, if there was a fracture in the post or something, it wouldn't be like this big excavation to get it out.
That's the traditional streetlight mounting. Direct burial is the traditional PGD pole mounting, right? They just drill a big hole, put it in the ground, because if it comes out, it's throw away the pole.
Okay.
Thank you for that, and if they come up with something different, I'll bring it back to you just to let you know, because, you know, we wouldn't want to put it out there and then you say, this is not what we thought it was going to be.
Well, thanks for adjusting to, thanks for like revisiting it in response to our direction. Whoever else's voices were heard, thanks for responding.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've been it came from committee to you guys, and thanks to Lisa for making it all work. The field rep flew in from Salt Lake City on, when did we see him? Monday?
Yeah, he was from Boise.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday.
So, you know, it's, and it was helpful to have him see, you know, what's out there.
Yeah, we looked at the trees for sure. They'll have to be trimmed a little bit.
The trees need to be trimmed anyway. They're pretty non-maintained. And so,
Neglected.
yes. Especially one of them has a pretty large growth that's kind of doing this number that is going to come out anyway. But- Great, thank you. Sorry, I was in here when you didn't want me to be, and then I wasn't in here when you wanted me to be.
Your timing was perfect.
You showed up to save us. Thank you.
So if there's nothing else, shall
I
we?
have 2 announcements. Next meeting, we're going to have a special meeting on April 4th. I've heard back from 4 of you. I haven't heard back from you, Wendy.
Oh.
Hopefully you're available that day.
I think so. I
It's
think
a-
I was already planning on that.
Okay, it's a Thursday. We have a variance on the agenda for a demo of an old garage structure, and then a variance application to encroach into the setback and maintain where that old building was. That's on Nevada Street, so the information's on our website. And then we might have a discussion about the commercial street planters. City council requested that we revisit it again, so I look forward to that
That's redundant.
discussion.
Revisit it again is redundant.
Revisit it
But
again.
factually accurate.
That's true. That is true.
And then I think that at our later meeting in April on the 18th, I didn't hear back from the folks about the 4th, but I think that they're, the Sacramento Street project, the old mother lode style house, will be ready to come back to the commission for the meeting on the 18th. And then whenever Stonehouse is ready, I'm sure they'll get on one of those meetings as well.
And I will be away on the 4th.
And on
so
that topic, look what I found.
do it without me.
I found another version of the planter.
That's nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, except for one thing. It really looks terrible.
It's tall.
It's weather worn.
Weather worn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not attractive.
Perhaps this is a
Wendy.
personal
Maybe have her hand
conversation
up.
and we should adjourn.
I am interested in
Are we adjourned? Did you have to tell
getting
us?
actual liaison updates. When I look at these things that are living there for years,
Yes.
it feels like there's a proactive opportunity if I had one, I would do it. But is there a way that we can kind of actually move through those?
I don't know how unless I receive a report from somebody. So if somebody has a project that they were the designated liaison and there's some sort of action that happens or, you know, help that was given, I think an update to me would be great, and then I could include it on that staff report. Because I feel the same way, I'm just putting the same thing on the agenda every month.
Yeah, it would, like,
So-
how many people have liaison?
I do, but nothing's happening, right?
That's the thing,
They
we're,
But are we
reaching
also
out.
asking them? Like, what was,
It's in their court though, really. if
what were they supposed to do, or why were we appointed as liaisons?
this-
Lisa, would you
I don't
like to
know.
address
Yeah.
the duty the duties of a liaison?
Well, from what I understand, you guys appoint a liaison if there's anything that seems like a small tweak or some help along the way would be helpful. Honestly, it doesn't really need to be on the agenda. It could be just handled in a different way. So there's that.
Even closure to reach out and say, hi, I'm your liaison. You were planning on doing a project. Are you still planning on doing this project? Is that,
Potentially. I mean, some people have their reasons, you know, if they have a building permit or something and their construction timeline is unknown or, you know, not well-defined, they might
I
just.
see a lot of projects, a lot of things that we approve that don't happen, right?
that don't what,
That don't
happen?
happen. People, for one
Which is
reason or
totally
another-
fine.
yeah, yeah.
You
And I-
know,
and I
it's
think
just kind of
the
like,
same
well, then
thing.
let's, you know, let's,
So our role, as I understand it, is to be available through the planner if the applicant has a question that can reasonably be answered. It's a small change, a change of a light fixture maybe that seems to be within, similar to the character of the one that was approved, for example, just small details that we can say, yeah, that looks fine, or that's something that should come back to the commission. But it's basically based on the applicant reaching out to the liaison through Lisa. And so we report those contacts as they come up. I think it's good to have it on the agenda to provide an avenue for it.
I guess I would say I don't see it as our role to make sure the project gets done. That's completely.
I
up
don't,
to
I'm
them.
not saying that. I'm just saying what, like, an update on the status seems,
Okay.
So I think no liaison report would be an update on the status.
Well, let me
I can
ask a
say for mine,
question.
the
Do we,
Zollers have done nothing at this point, so.
Yeah, they have the building permit, but they haven't done anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, we get a project, we assign a liaison, the project goes on. Do we actually close out projects? You know, if they're painting the front, you know, does anybody go down to see if they painted the same color and they're finished? Do we get an official notice when the project is finished?
Not necessarily, no.
See,
If it's a
that's-
building permit, we don't even really get notice because the building department's handling it. Like if a permit is finalized, it's not like they reach out and say, okay, this one's done, you guys.
Okay. So we don't, so some of these things are open and then they're, but that was a couple of years ago and they're already finished.
Peter, or they're completed and they haven't reached out to the liaisons. It's not, we're not empowered at this point to police that an applicant completed their project in accordance with our approval. That's not in our, if that's what you're suggesting.
No, I was just addressing the list. Some of those projects have been closed out, but there's no official notice, and we should.
Right.
You should review them, I guess, and say if they're already finished, let's take them off.
Yeah, I've done that. I took off some of the ones that I know were completed.
Okay.
like, Espiritu Art, Espiritu Cafe, what I was a liaison to, but they ended up closing, so it's not on the list.
Right.
And so you updated that. you
Oh,
know.
good, okay.
And
And so, yeah.
No. And a siding replacement on Long Street, which I was appointed liaison for, I don't know if they've done the work or if not. But they didn't reach out to me, so I guess it's still open.
I think they might still have an open permit, but I can check that again next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't reached closure here.
Yeah, well, the one
Liaison
that makes
thing.
me very curious is the Rose Market. Seeing that one preceded my time on the planning commission, and I guess I'm curious, like, really what it even is, and
Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't looked in the file. Did Rose Market have a hanging sign that was proposed?
I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss that
Yeah.
now.
Well,
in a
maybe I
public
could get a
meeting.
liaison report from you for next month. And I can include it on the consent agenda. item.
And then we could pull it for discussion.
Procedure's important, come on. Keeps the records clear.
I can give
If
the
you have,
liaison.
if you have any information, if it hasn't gone anywhere, then there's.
Oh, no, okay,
no
all
need
right,
for
so
it.
it is agendized, you're right. So I was reached out to by the Rose Market people, and no changes have been made. I think we did an architectural
Did at one point.
review aspect for their sign, the matrix on which the sign is mounted, and that work has not been done. So,
there was an architectural review after the sign was put up or before the sign was put up?
and it pertained, the architectural review had to do with the plywood that covered the transom windows without architectural review, and the sign was mounted to that.
It's about 6 months ago or so, yeah.
6 months ago?
Feels like a year.
Was it a year?
It feels
Oh my
like
gosh,
it.
it's longer than that.
Yeah.
That sign's been there?
Oh, no, the architect, that we had this architectural
Oh,
review.
I get you, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, what? Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So that work hasn't been done so that the sign could be readdressed. But there was specific direction given, but no action at all was taken.
Okay.
Because it was before your time.
Right.
Yes.
There's my liaison report.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so the next action that should ideally happen?
That's a question,
Yeah, it is, sorry.
Madam Planner?
I suppose it would be, did they receive their architectural review approval? They did, and then they installed the hanging?
No. It was an as-built non-approval, essentially.
Okay.
So the
The
sequence of
architecture review.
events is somebody put up a piece of plywood over transom windows without planning commission review.
Right.
And then because of that, there was an architectural review committee that said, hey, this would look better. Is that what happened?
Or to try to get approval for what they built.
Okay.
Didn't come to it came to the full commission.
It did come to the commission.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and the plywood was unapproved, it was not approved, and direction was given, there's a record of this, but
Yeah.
direction was given
There's a
to
video.
expose the original architectural details, either paint the glass, paint it from inside, whatever, but reveal the architectural detail, and then hang the sign in front of that.
Okay.
And there was some guidance as to how they could use their existing sign in that way, without replacing the sign. And that work was not done.
Got a good memory.
About some things.
So at some point, did they receive the type of code enforcement notification that, say, like the Speakeasy did? Is that how it began?
Don't remember.
Probably,
Okay.
yeah.
There are minutes, and there's
There's what?
there's an approved set of minutes and video on that,
It
so.
would be hard to find it, though.
I think I've pretty accurately
I
represented
think you
what
did
happened.
pretty well, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know then, is that how it came forth as a project? Is because is that right? That something happened similar to like the sign we reviewed today, where it was like, oh, you guys put a sign up. Is that what happened?
I don't remember what the original sign approval was. I don't even remember if it was applied for. It might, Commissioner Brown seems to be searching.
I'm going to see if I can look and find the.
This doesn't sound like
I think we can adjourn.
commissioner reports.
Yeah, I think we can adjourn.
I
Are we
Commissioner
adjourned?
Creep? So there we have hanging questions that were provided by my answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that, let us adjourn.